UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
It's live, folks. It is a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Wednesday, hump day. We got JC. We'll have Zach Abolverdi from On
Zach.
3, Gators Online, senior writer. We'll get his thoughts on Gator football, sports, recruiting, all that stuff. Got a lot to talk about, JC, today. You're on the Titan MRI hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, by the way. What's going on?
Yeah, I love Titan MRI hotline. Big Joe. Great.
Does it make you feel better when you're on the Titan MRI hotline?
It does, because Joe Calorio is fabulous, and he also is a great Catholic, goes to my church. So we're very proud, very proud of Joe. Love Joe. Hey, listen, man, I stayed up last night. I just broke down, QB. I broke down $149. I'm literally broke right now, but things are going to get better soon. But $149 later, I bought the MLB package last night with my son, Jeff. Wake up, because I love watching it. And then, QB, come on. I mean, this is the only guy that that's got all this green on the Hard Rock Sports Betting app. And I'm watching this baseball just cashing and cashing and cashing, ringing the freaking bank, just going to the bank, man. It's unbelievable. How about the Braves last night? 6-2 winners. They're 51-39 on the year. They're second in the NL East. They've won 6 out of their last 10, but they beat the Snakes 6-2. Adam Duvall, 2-run homer. I think it was off Zach Gallen. I was watching that and about 3 other games. Chris Sale, major league leading, 12 wins. He's 12-3. He's got 9 Ks. He last night against Arizona. The Braves are 7.5 behind Philadelphia. I know we have a lot of Braves lovers. You love the Braves, a lot of Braves fans. But the good thing is that they're 4.5 games up on the next team in the wild card race. They are in fine shape. When Ronald Acuna comes back in the second half of the year, I think Atlanta is going to be nasty to deal with. Them and the Phillies are the class of that division. And the Mets are actually even playing better, QB. So I'm a baseball expert. You can now call me the Matthews in the Morning baseball guru, because I know everything about baseball. I watched the Rangers last night beat the Angels. Wyatt Langford, he's hitting 4th in the lineup. He's batting .270, .333 on base percentage, .409 slugging percentage. He's got Adolis Garcia hitting behind him. You can do a lot of things when you got a guy like Garcia, who looks like a middle linebacker for the Chicago Bears and the Dallas Cowboys. You can do a lot of things when he's batting behind you, and he hit the game-winning go-ahead home run last night. Garcia did for the Texas Rangers as they win again. And I'll be at Globe Life. I'm looking for Dan Bond, one of our greatest viewers of all time. He's a QB. We need to have a Hall of Fame or a Ring of Honor like they have at the University of Florida. We need to have a Ring of Honor for your and my viewers and listeners. Big Dan is there every single day. And Dan, I will be in Arlington next week. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you as the Orioles roll in to play the World Series champs.
Why don't you go buy Dan one of those $18 beers at Globe Life?
I'll buy him whatever he wants. I'm getting free seats behind home plate. I'll have a little spending money. So, Dan, if you want to have a good time, you go find me. We'll have a good time. We'll go to Texas Live. We'll sit in that country and western bar before the game, and we'll kick back a few. All right?
JC, I'm going to be very disappointed if you don't show up at the Rangers game in a number 36 jersey.
I mean, I can do it, bro.
By the way, I'm a numbers guy. I got to find out why Wyatt Langford wore number 36 for the Gators and wears it now. It's a weird number.
Good number. Good. It's probably got something. I don't know. It's got something to do with probably Trenton or whatever. Maybe that's what he wore.
He lived off of Dirt Road 36 in Trenton.
County Road 36 in Gilchrist County. But listen, man, 270 batting average and a 409 slugging percentage. He's hitting 4th in the lineup, dude. He's hitting 4th.
Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome for sure. Kanye Ron on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, JC, where are your seats in the swamp for home Gator games?
I sit only in a certain section, and that section would be in the south end zone and touchdown terrace, unless invited to the Champions Club, which has happened quite often. The problem I'm finding at Florida Field and the Swamp with these exclusive seats is that they don't feel very exclusive, QB. It is so crowded in the Champions Club. It is so crowded in the touchdown terrace. And I understand the university is trying to make money, maximize the value of your seats at the Swamp. I love that Scott Strickland is a stadium guy. He's a structures guy. He's the kind of guy that wants to improve the experience for fans. I think reducing attendance will do that, and making the seats more comfortable will absolutely do that. But these specialty seats in the touchdown terrace and in the Champions Club are where I like to go, unless invited to the hotel up at the top, which I don't enjoy necessarily, but I love the company. But when you're at the hotel up on the top, and I'm talking about the 6th and 7th floor, dude, you might as well be watching the game at a hotel or in a conference room, because it's just a social event. But the Gators, if the Gators would win some damn games, maybe more people up there would watch the game.
No, they don't. Even back in the heyday. Okay, let's move on. I got a lot of stuff to get to today.
All right, you get to it.
No, the people in the skyboxes, God bless them, but they might as well be in the kitchen in their house.
I know.
Because nobody watches the game.
But they got the money, QB.
We got a very long text here on the Titan MR text line from a 35-year-old season ticket holder in Pompano Beach. I'm not going to read it, but he's raising hell about he wants me to ask those in charge at UF to respect our UF tradition and brand and don't play in green, black, or other non-UF colors.
I love that.
Who thinks it was smart to wear black jerseys at home last year against Arkansas on a hot day in the Swamp? We don't need these gimmicks. I don't care if kids love it. We do not, he goes on and on and on. Let me just say this. Well, I agree and I disagree, because the reason we wore black uniforms, JC, was to honor the military, and they auctioned those jerseys off for military families. Okay. But every other sport at the University of Florida wears black. Every sport. Softball. Baseball didn't this year, but they have. Track. Basketball. I don't care. I mean, that's just part of it, but
not for football, QB. If you want to do that kind of thing for the Army, then have, a general or somebody come down on the field, honor the 2 guys that flew the airplanes over the sky at the kickoff, and basically wear camouflage. All right.
Well, again, none of that has any bearing on whether you win or lose a football game. So I'll just leave it at that.
But QB, it's identity. It's identity. And Georgia tried this crap with their little uniform hokiness and all that. Alabama went in there and buried them. And you can't do that. You got to be who you are, man. You think Alabama's going to roll out there on a home game?
Well, Alabama's not, but every other. I mean, there's only about 2 or 3 schools in America that do not ever touch their uniforms. So I mean, people can sit here and talk about. I mean, do we have traditional? We have traditional colors. Let's leave it at that. We don't have traditional uniforms, so to speak.
Well, listen, the heyday was in the blues, okay, and that's what the Gators wore. The Spurrier, listen, QB, Spurrier, and you know this. I mean, I don't have to tell you this, but he made sure that they wore those blue uniforms and got rid of those orange ones. He did not like the orange uniforms. It was probably reminiscent of the 80s decade, which had a couple of good years in spite of all the problems. But the blue uniforms, dude, with the white pants, that was you. That was Danny. That was Cresser.
No, I know, but
I'm talking about.
We have colors, but I wouldn't say we have traditional uniforms. All right. So, all right, one more thing.
You beat Alabama.
A couple of topics.
You beat Alabama in those all whites. I'll never forget it. You threw that ball in the all white jerseys on the road. Why not be that way? Penn State does.
Yeah. All right. So this is a YouTube from a couple of days ago, but it kept coming through my phone. This is from Tommy on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. He says, did JC just call the UF golf course a dump? With friends like that, Gators don't need any recruiting enemies. Look, that's terrible,
you can
JC.
Talk the truth. You can say the truth, or you can hide in the truth. You can either speak the truth or hide it.
Let me say something to this. Our golf course, our golf facility is probably the worst in the Southeastern Conference.
Oh my God, it's not even measurable. Ask the coach. If he's honest, he'll tell you.
So they got tremendous greens there. It's a good little layout for the amount of land they have. But when you look at the facilities of the other opposing schools in the SEC,
can't
we are
compare.
probably dead last.
But here's the good news. Here's the good news to the caller or texter or whatever he is. The good news is that help is coming. It just doesn't happen overnight. But they're going to have a new place. They're going to have a place exclusively for the golfers and the golf team, and they should. This is a national championship winning coach. This is a guy that has done more with less, and I don't even know him, but I'm going to get to know him soon. He's done more with less than any coach in the Southeastern Conference, or for that matter, maybe in the country when it comes to men's golf. I mean, my God, you can only bring the tee boxes so far back until you just run out.
Well, it's not about it's the practice facilities what's so bad.
Yeah, it's all about space. It's space constrained, and it's just not available to do the best thing for the golfers. I'm concerned about the team and the golfers and the coaches and the recruiting efforts. You don't want to lose talent to other schools like Georgia and Oklahoma State and all these other damn places when you can get them to come here very easily by just simply improving a few things. And that's what's going to happen. But just know that those days are coming, and hopefully the misery will end.
Michael on YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing says, come on, guys, really? The color of the jersey has absolutely no impact on how we execute plays in the game. Those black jerseys were badass.
It's not what we're talking.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, I had no problem with it. If we win that game, nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. All right, so JC,
Ohio State in black, it looks.
Well, they do. They wear black and they do wear a gray jersey.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so I saw this. JC, do you know how many students are at the University of Tulsa?
I don't. I'm going to guess 29,000.
Okay. Well, for some reason they pop up on my Twitter feed, which you're still banned from Twitter, and they pop up on my Twitter feed.
You love reminding everybody of that too, by the way. I just think that's great. My PR guy is hard at work right now trying to get this fixed, and here you go, right, just bashing me.
So I guess because I follow Bubba Spurrier because he coaches at Tulsa, I guess that's why it pops up. Right. So this tweet says they only have 4,000 students.
No, false.
Okay. Well, anyway, they have just raised for their athletic department $38 million in donations.
No kidding. Wow. And they have a terrible nickname, and they still were able to do that. Well, and listen, I mean, it depends on who wants to contribute, right? I mean, this is
so. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. I want to now know how many students go to Tulsa.
Well, I got the magazine. I bought the Phil Steele. You can only get it at Books A Million and some other place, but I bought it, $20, no big deal. Loved it. Read it. They show the enrollment of every school on each caption of every team, which I think is accurate, but it may be off a little bit. But QB, you want to talk about raising money? The Big 12 is at media days right now, okay? They're having their media days. It's getting started, right? Big 12, then SEC, Big 10, so forth. Brett Yormark, who is the commissioner there, who is very proud of the fact that they're adding Utah, the 2 Arizona schools in Colorado, in spite of losing Oklahoma and Texas. And here comes another damn tractor while I'm trying to talk, because these guys have to mow the grass at exactly 8 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But anyway, here they are mowing the grass. The Big 12, by the way, according to Brett Yormark, okay, he's the commissioner, the deepest conference. They're in 10 states, 4 time zones, and they're more relevant than ever. But here's the biggest thing. They are talking about selling the naming rights of the conference to Allstate Insurance, the insurance giant that would generate hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. And they're also considering, listen to this, they're considering selling 15 to 20% of the conference itself to a private equity company based in Luxembourg. I'm not going to bother you with where that is because you don't know, but it's over there in Europe behind Brussels in the Netherlands, which, is a little tiny country. But that could generate, with private equity, almost $800 million to $1 billion with a B dollars for the Big 12 that has 16 teams. And so this is about money. There's no question about it. And they're selling their asses off to try to increase the revenue for their schools. And I think it's the way of the world, man.
Okay.
Did that take you just by shock? I mean, did that?
I'll be honest with JC. I have to multitask so much on this program.
You need an audit.
It was like on the sideline after you make a bad decision and Coach Spurrier's screaming at you. You let it go in one ear and out the other, and don't really pay attention.
I'm bringing up valid and lucid points here.
Well, okay. Tony said our show is very big in Luxembourg. So.
Well, then let's get some of that private equity coming over here, man. I need a raise, by the way. I need a raise, QB. When you go?
By the way, we have Andy, who is like part-time statistician for this program. The enrollment at Tulsa is only 3,400 students. It's the size of Buchholz.
Okay, that I learned something I did not know today. I'm dramatically wrong about that, but I really just can't believe that. I think they got to count the commuters and the graduate students.
Well, they may, but I mean, that's amazing how small that is.
You're really worked up about Tulsa.
I couldn't believe Tulsa raised $38 million for the athletic program.
It's in oil country,
I was impressed by the Golden Hurricane alumnus.
Yeah, well, the Golden Hurricane, which makes zero sense whatsoever. Golden Hurricane is in oil country, bro. It's in Oklahoma. So that's probably a lot of it.
All right. Matt on Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon Law. And I think Matt's in Mississippi somewhere. He says, have y'all seen SEC Mike's SEC QB list? I don't know who SEC Mike is, and I've not seen that list, but he says Brady Cook is his #1 quarterback. Cook had a really good year last year.
They're getting a lot of love, QB, but the guy Luther Burden is a real. He's the real deal. There's absolutely no question about that. He is really good.
Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. If you stand on it, we stand by it. We got JC. We'll have Zach Abolverdi, second portion of today's program. All right, JC, real quick. I want to get to this. I brought it up yesterday with Buddy, but Buddy had bad connection. And I was out of town. I couldn't hear half the thing what Buddy was saying. But a gentleman up in the Virginia area sent me this, and it was probably on Twitter somewhere. But it's the regular season wins required to be in the college football playoff at large discussion, and it's some ratings that they have.
Okay.
So basically, they have a section for 8 wins, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and 13.
Right.
And there's one school sitting at 8 wins that by this projection,
I know who that is.
It's the Mighty Gators.
It has to be. I mean, number one schedule in the country. That's all you need to know about that. But I like that. I think that's kind of neat. That's a good feature to have prior to the season as we go into August eventually.
There's one team in America that has to go 13-0. They're the only team that cannot afford a loss this year.
Wow.
The Nevada Wolfpack. If they go 13-0, they will be in an at-large discussion.
Absolutely, they will. Well, it's just great that we're going into 12 teams rather. I'm 99% in love with all this. There's just one little issue about the playoff that I have. We've talked about it. I won't bore you anymore with it. But, I'm really happy that we're going to see these discussions about is a 12-1 Big Ten team better or more deserving than a 10-2 SEC team? Yeah, I'm just so over that discussion. ESPN's made a living in a cottage industry out of those kinds of conversations, and it bores me to tears. And we're not going to have to worry about it because we're going to have 12. So that, and eventually, QB, you know as well as I do, it's going to turn to 16. But what it does is it gives us something to do in December other than worrying about our credit card bill for Christmas. And that is important. So I think great for us. And you know what? You can send your friend for Christmas or your wife or your spouse or whomever a ticket to a playoff game maybe for Christmas as a present, just like you did for the national championship in January. I think it's great. So it extends the season a couple of weeks. It adds a few games, but not everybody's going to be playing these games. Remember, it's just a few teams that get to move on after they win in the first or round of the playoffs or in the conference championship game, of course. So I'm off. I think it's fantastic. I can't wait, QB. By the way, did you see what happened? Did you see what Mike Gundy said about Oliver?
Well, I had a text right here from Jimmy on the Tatum text line. He wanted your thoughts on what Mike Gundy said yesterday at Media Day.
I 100% 1000% agree with Mike Gundy. I think he's dead on about this. There's no sense in ruining this kid's life as long as this kid knows what he did, is understanding of the ramifications. The fact that nobody got hurt isn't necessarily the point, but it is the biggest thing that is the result of this. And he's going to have to learn the hard way, which means more attention, high attorney fees, a lot of money going out of his pocket, but it's not going to ruin what he does very well. And that is something about running a football. And he said, if I'm going to punish this kid, it might be giving him the ball 50 times in that first game. How about that for punishment? And believe me, I think Mike Gundy knows and is qualified to talk about this. He's got sons, right? He's got children. They talk about this kind of thing. We all saw what happened to Henry Ruggs with the Raiders. It's one of the most horrible tragedies you'll ever see. But in this day and age with rideshare, with these phones, and with everything else available to you, why in the hell would anybody even consider what we did in the 80s? And the fact is we did do it in the 80s, but that was the 80s. And this is today. And the truth is you can't drive and drink. And so you shouldn't. And Ollie Gordon's going to learn that. He's just a young kid too, right? And fortunately for him and for others, nobody got hurt. But the point is that they could have, and he would have had to deal with the tragedy of that for the rest of his life. And that is tragic. So we don't want to have that. And this is a good lesson, I think, to be learned. I agree with Mike Gundy. I think he's doing the right thing and taking the right approach.
All right. So before we jump into,
do you agree with that?
Yeah, I didn't follow it closely, but
well, he got pulled over. He had open vodka and tequila bottles and swerving in traffic, and he got a DUI or a suspicion of DUI. But listen, nobody got hurt, thank God. And the punishment is going to be more attention on him and what he's going to have to do to make it right. And that means.
All right, before we get to our piece, let me get to this this Facebook Live comment question from Joseph on the brought to you by Mellog. Graham Mertz finished top 5 in completion percentage, but had the worst catch rate past 15 yards in the SEC. How's that possible? Mertz has to develop into a downfield thrower. I won't be surprised I'll see Lagway getting a chance to air it out. The QB had us handcuffed last year in many ways. Let them boys hang low, Mertz. Joseph, I don't know what games you watch, but the quarterback can only do what he's asked to do. He can throw the ball. I don't know how else I need to say this. He has a better arm than any of Spurrier's quarterbacks or equivalent to those guys. Okay. We don't throw it down the field, so you can't ask the quarterback and complain about it if it's not asked to do. And that's why I say multiple times on the broadcast, we need to throw the ball down the field 8 to 10 times. If you hit 3 of them, it's a hell of a day. Okay.
It's a hell of a day.
And I don't care how far Lagway can throw the football. We've seen this. Yeah. That is not going to win you football games.
Yeah. Nope,
so
it doesn't.
I don't understand why these people don't understand football. Okay. I argued with this guy the other day about quarterback play. Quarterback play to me is production and consistency. When you do not win, if you do not have a winning percentage or win games at the high school level or at the college level, what makes you think you're going to win games at the next level?
The only guy who I think had problems with winning, but is a Hall of Fame quarterback, is Matt Stafford. But I agree.
See, he won it. He won it. He won in high school. He was an All-American in high school. He won at Georgia. It's not like they had a losing. I'm talking about not having a winning record. Hey, let me back up. Let me rephrase it. Just to have a winning record.
Yeah.
There's a problem there when you don't have winning records at all levels of your play. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There's always a problem, QB, when you don't have a winning record.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's number one choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. We are at the Scottish Open, and I'm going to give you some stories about the Scottish Open, JC, on Friday's program because I played this golf course. I think I mentioned it last year, the Renaissance Club.
Yes.
The week it opened up with the Manning family about in 2006 or maybe 7 or 8.
I remember when you went to that.
I will give y'all some really good stories when we're talking about it because we'll already have almost 2 rounds under our belt when we talk on Friday. So,
all right, yeah, no,
all right. So I'm going to pick first.
It's become a bigger tournament than it used to be for sure, and it's leading into every year now the Open Championship. So that's big.
I'm going to pick first, and I'm going to go with Ludwig Oberg.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Europeans are comfortable in Europe, and that's a good pick. So because you're doing that, I'm going to go with Victor Hovland.
Oh, you're going with Javi. Okay. I'm going to go with the local boy, Bobby Mack, Robert McIntyre.
Yep. Had his dad on the bag. I'm going to take the guy who disappeared for a month, rightfully so, but will come back, I think, with a vengeance in these next 2 weeks, and that's going to be Rory McIlroy. No question about it.
Roy Mack,
I don't think anything that happened in the U.S. Open is going to affect him in the next 2 weeks. And I think he won this last year, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. I'm going to take. Do you want to take 3 or 4 golfers?
Well, let's take 4. I mean,
all right. Well, my third pick is going to be Tommy Fleetwood.
Oh gosh, you're just going with all the local flavor right now. Gee whiz! I mean, come on, man. Okay, well then, I could pick Alex Noren, but I'm not. Instead, and by the way, I give myself a pat on the back for taking Danny McCarthy last week at that ridiculous tournament in Illinois. He finished the top 5. I'm going to take a guy that nobody ever picks on this show, but is told that I've heard is one of the best ball strikers on tour, and that would be your guy, Tom Hoge.
Who?
Tom
Hoge.
One of the best ball strikers on tour, according to those I listen to when it comes to golf. Doesn't mean he's a good scorer, but he's a great hitter.
All right, let's see. So I got to pick one more dude.
Whatever that is. Well, you've got 3 now or 2?
I have 3. I have Bobby Mack, Tommy Fleetwood, and Ludwig.
Okay.
Is Minwoo Lee playing in this tournament? Yes, he is. I'll take Minwoo.
Take him. All right, I'm going to take the Italian who showed up at the U.S. Open, and that would be Francesco Molinari.
Oh, jeez.
I know. It's crazy. But hey, man,
he fell off the face of the earth he hasn't won a golf tournament since he won the damn British Open years ago.
Was it the British Open he won?
Yeah, I think so.
It was the British Open?
Yeah. All right, so to recap the Peachland Dental picks for the Scottish Open, JC has Vic Hovland, Roy McIlroy, Tom Hoge, Francesca Molinari. I have Bobby McIntyre, Tommy Fleetwood, Ludwig Oberg, and Minwoo Lee. I like my roster a lot. All right, JC, we got a couple comments here before we let you go and get to Zach. Your thoughts on Keegan Bradley being the Ryder Cup captain?
I think it was a good pick.
I like it.
I like it a lot. He's got the passion and the fire to really, I think, get these guys to do well. Listen, he was, I think, shunned on the team when he should have been a player by Zach Johnson. We all saw how Zach Johnson's team did. Probably the worst Ryder Cup performance in decades. Bad captain. I think this is a much improved pick, and I think it's going to help our team.
Yes. So let me ask you this, because I probably should know this, but I don't, and I'm going to ask you, and I don't know if you know it.
Right.
Can he pick guys from the Live Tour or no?
I think so, as long as they're American.
Okay.
As long as they're American, it's America versus Europe. I don't think it has anything to do with PGA or the Royal NH. I think it's you take the 10, 12, whatever golfers. There's a couple of captain's choices, and then you got your automatic qualifiers. So if you want to take Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka, I think you're totally allowed to do that. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay. It'll be interesting to see. And also, Andy mentioned, and I was going to mention this. Congratulations to Parker Valby. She is your SEC Female Athlete of the Year. Very well deserved.
Yeah, tell your friends over there at Florida Victorious to call Luxembourg. I mean, they're forking out money, man. They're forking out money, and if the Big 12 is going to get $1 billion,
you think they want to sponsor some Gator football players?
Or how about they sponsor this podcast for?
Well, call them, JC.
I mean, I listen. We got to have people. We need people. Landscapers, banks, insurance agents, and sports betting apps to come on here and get on board with the QB and JC as we get ready for football season in August, September, October, November, and December now. So I'm excited about it. I think this is the best time of year. I love it because and think about this, folks. Before I leave, you got to embrace July and August as the anticipation mounts for football season, because before you know it, there will be week 5 hitting you in the face during the year. And you're going to look back and go, what is going on? The Florida Gators play their first 3 games at home, and it will come and go like a flash. So take advantage of the anticipation period. And then when the Gators start with 3 wins in their first 3 home games, this is the best time of year. So this is important to me, obviously.
Yeah. Kanye Ryan on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, is JC on Ozempic? JC, maybe you could get one. Okay, maybe they should sponsor. You're their poster child.
Well, I'm going to get the lady I go to at PRP here in town to sponsor us, and she will, especially after what I just paid last appointment. But she will. And I've got news for you, man. I'm into cellular regeneration. I'm so into that, maybe over cutting and pulling out. I think it's a good idea to explore that and take the odds. I am down to, as we get ready for Zach Abolverdi, who's fantastic, I am down to 193.4, okay, in 5 weeks, 212 to 193.4. How much is that, QB? 19 pounds? That's no joke. Now, I've lost some muscle mass. I got to get my ass into some resistance training and some weightlifting, whatever it is. I'm going to do that. But, man, I feel a lot different not toting around all this furniture on my body. And it's going to help me in golf to come and wear you out and everyone else out once again.
Good luck. Good luck with that. You may need a bunch of shots for that.
I've done it before. I'm going to do it again, QB. And don't worry, I'm going to get my hands right. It'll get right. I'm going to come back better than ever. New man, rebuilt and ready to roll.
All right. Good stuff, JC. We'll see you on Friday.
You got to have fun.
All right. We're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll be joined by Zach Abolverdi, talking a little Gator sports. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, Peachland Dental, QC Kinetics, Campus USA Credit Union, Dave & Buster's. Our Gridiron sponsors, Sutter Pro Painters, Comfort Temp, UF Bookstores, Quality Plumbing, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, F45. Our touchdown sponsors are Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, MG&A Wealth, Nest and Wild.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Back to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're joined by On Threes, Gators Online. He does it all. It's Zach Abolverdi. How you doing, my man? Appreciate you joining us.
I'm doing well, Shane. I'm ready for football. I don't know about you, but it's almost here, man.
Yeah, it is. And I appreciate you taking the time to join us. I know you've been busy in the summer with travel baseball and things of that nature. Let's start first, because I've had a bunch of texts and things regarding recruiting for 2025, which I get it, but I don't really care. I don't care if we're ranked 500th. All I care about is what happens August 31st this year. Just give us a recap, or why the Gators aren't highly ranked in the 2025 class.
Yeah, I mean, they just haven't gotten off to a good start, and it's not surprising, so to speak. Although the summer's not over, I would say that first. They still have time, I think, get some momentum before the season gets here, like you just mentioned, Shane. But last year they had a top. I think they got all the way up to number 2 in the rankings last summer. So they've been to that point before with this staff, and that was coming off of a losing season. But now you're coming off back-to-back losing seasons with this staff, and I mean, just to be honest, and I think recruits have said it, they want to see, just like fans, they want to see what this team looks like, what this program is headed. And I think if Florida goes out and does what it's supposed to do and has a good season, they can have a strong finish in recruiting. But I kind of feel like that's going to be required for them to turn the tide, because right now they got the fewest commits in the SEC. They've gotten some good pieces so far, but they just don't have enough guys on board yet. And I think that if they go out there and beat Miami that first game, if they can get a win in the Swamp against LSU, get a win in the Swamp against Kentucky, all these are potential recruiting weekends. That can change some things. So and I think some of those things are going to have to happen.
Yeah, Kanye Ron, this is kind of what you're touching on, and I really believe this. YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Are recruits waiting to see how the Gators perform on the field before committing? I think that has a lot to do with it. I think dollars have a lot to do with it. I try to tell people kids want to win and kids want to get paid. So if you're winning and you are paying players, they will come. Am I wrong there?
Sure. And I do think that from the paying aspect, we've seen Florida's willing to do what it takes with certain recruits from an NIL standpoint. Like, just being honest, you don't get DJ Lagway and LJ McCray, both of whom were bidding wars, at the finish line, if your NIL is not in order. Now is Florida offering by and large as much NIL as maybe some of these, schools is priority number one, and honestly kind of has been all along in this recruiting class when you think about it, because wide receiver is such an important need for them in this cycle. You're going to lose Shamir DK after this season, who's going to be your starting slot, and there's going to be an opening there. And, man, if you can plug him there and have him be opposite Trey Wilson or next to Trey Wilson, I mean, that's a pretty good wide receiver tandem in terms of some athletic, elusive guys. So he is a huge priority, Shane. And you know how it is with these legacies and how fans feel about them. This one's a little bit deeper. And I think that just how much that Brown family and its history with Florida. So this hasn't been an easy recruitment because he's had Ohio State come after him. Florida State is really in the mix because of Keywan Ratliff being there. So this has been a battle. And I think he put out yesterday he's going to decide on the 21st. So we're going to find out soon where he's going.
Do you have a gut feeling or crystal ball, as you boys like to use?
Yeah, I mean, I don't cover recruiting like that. So,
right.
All of the experts out there, think that he's going to go to Florida. I don't think that they necessarily know, because he's kept it pretty close to the vest. And, if anything, about a month or two ago, he named Ohio State and Florida State as leaders. Now, was that just kind of how he was feeling off of the official visits at the time? Yeah, I don't know. But I think that people feel like he's going to end up at Florida just because of the legacy factor. And I would lean that way too. But because of all the things that we just talked about, you never know. And that Miami is going to throw a bunch of NIL dollars at him. And, Brian Hartline, that's an intriguing option. I don't know if he's going to leave the state, though. I honestly think it's going to be Florida or FSU. His sister goes to Florida State. And like I said, he's really tight with Keywan Ratliff. That used to be his 7-on-7 coach. People might not know that. So I think if he goes anywhere else, it'd be Florida State, which, man, that would be a stinger for Gator Nation.
Yeah, it really would. Zach, let's talk about the Gators real quick. what's your feeling going into the season? You know, I told people I'm tired of hearing about the schedule. Embrace the schedule. If you win 8 or 9 games, you're going to make the playoffs. Okay. And
Yeah.
I really think there's only two teams that on paper that I just like, I don't know if we can beat them, and that's Texas and Georgia. Everybody else, I think we can beat. They may be a little bit better here or there, but you don't know how Ole Miss is going to be playing late in the year in the swamp, and they lose games in tough environments a lot. So, having said all that, I firmly believe if the Gators can play average defense, and I'm saying average because we've been pathetic for a long time on defense, they can win a lot of games. And I think the additions of the players that they've made at crucial positions on defense will help that. Am I crazy to think that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you something to feel good about if you're a Florida fan. I mean, what's been the worst part about the defense specifically? To me, last year was tackling. I mean, they missed so many tackles. I think they averaged 10 a game. Well, the guy that they lost, that middle linebacker, Scooby Williams, should I say Mike linebacker, I think he graded out at PFF like a 40 grade, 39 grade as a tackle grade. It was the lowest on the team among the defensive starters. He was not a good tackler. The guy that could replace him, Huff Howard from South Carolina, as a true freshman last year, he played in every game. He led South Carolina with like an 88 tackle grade, according to PFFF. That was the highest on the team as a true freshman. So just that alone is something to look forward to and could make a difference. But then Asa Turner on the back end, now you're pairing him with Jordan Castell. That's a really good tandem now that you've got at safety. Joey Slackman, you added him on the defensive line. You added Kelby Collins also to the defensive line. So now I think that group is better. I think Jamari Lyons is also a guy that's going to emerge this year at nose tackle, Shane, because, Cam Jackson and Des Watson have kind of dealt with some weight issues. I know that Cam has got it down a lot, actually. He lost a lot of weight this spring. But Jamari Lyons is a guy that if he steps up, now you got another guy that you can count on in that rotation. So if they can be better and the pieces are there, that can make all the difference in the world, Shane, because they should be, close to where they were on offense last year. You lose Ricky Pearsall, but you added Elijah Badger. You've got what looks like could be a better offensive line. We're going to find out. That first game is going to be a really good test against that Miami D-line. But there's a lot to like about this football team. I think everybody's just so scared of the schedule. And while it is the number one most difficult schedule in the country, to your point, and what a lot of people have said, we don't know what these teams are going to look like come fall. We don't know what injuries are going to happen. I mean, it's just, there's so much that's to be undetermined. And we also don't know what Florida's going to look like. You might have a different opinion on Florida going into some of these games if they jump out to a 5-1 start and win some of these games. So let's just see how it plays out.
Sticking with defense, and I got a couple of offensive questions. We'll get you out of here. LJ McCray, obviously, as you mentioned, highly touted defensive lineman from the state of Florida. What kind of impact as a true freshman do you think he can have this year?
Just tell him to go rush the passer.
Yeah.
I mean, at the very least, if he can just do that, that's going to help out. He's playing that F spot, which was described to me as a salty room, just because of how deep they are there. Because you got Justice Boone back, you got Tyreek Sapp back. I mean, those are going to be your 1 and 2 there. But you also got Cameron James there. You got LJ McCray. I think Brian Taylor plays there as well. I mean, they're loaded at that specific position. Having said that, man, he's different, Shane, and you just see him in person. You can tell why he was so highly touted, why he was so highly coveted. And he's just a guy for the future that you got to develop and get him on the field if he's, ready and able to make an impact, which based on what he did in the spring, it looks like it. I mean, Ron Roberts raved about the guy. And then we saw him in the spring game. He reps basically with the starting unit, quote unquote. He played with the starters the whole spring game. They mixed and matched some guys, but he was with the first team unit, and I think there's something to be said about that. They want him to get used to playing with those guys. So if you can get contributions from him, that would be huge for their defense.
Yeah, you talked about the offensive line a few minutes ago, and you mentioned PFF. I think I saw somewhere where Pro Football Focus had the Gator offensive line rated like number 10 in America. I may have misread that.
No, you're right.
Just your thoughts on that, because as I told people, offensively, we were good enough to win a lot of games last year. Were we explosive and exciting? No. I don't know if that'll happen. But if you can continue to play the offensive football we've played and play average defense, it's 3 or 4 more wins, in my opinion. But O-line play is huge. How do you see it going this year?
Well, to start with PFF, and, I know maybe some people don't put too much stock into them. Well, I know that the Florida staff respects the data that they put out. And I know that, for what it's worth, ESPN and their new college football game basically use PFF to rate all these players in this year's game. So a lot of people respect what these guys say. And having said that, they are really high on Florida's offensive line, Shane. It's not just that they rank them as a top 10 unit in the country. They have Jake Slaughter rated, I think, as like one of the top interior linemen in the nation. I think number 8 overall in the nation. They think he's one of the best centers in the country. Then you go to this transfer portal cycle. Everybody talks about the guard position, and we'll get into that. But if you ask the staff, they felt like offensive tackle was as big of a need, if not a bigger need, in the transfer portal. Well, according to PFF, Florida went out and signed 2 of the top 6 offensive tackle transfers that were available this year. 2 of the top 6, according to their ratings. And that was Brendan Crenshaw Dixon and Devin Manuel. Now, you add those 2 to the room. Now you look at their grade for the SEC and the returning offensive tackles this year. Florida has 3 of the top 10 tackles, according to PFF, along with Jake Slaughter. Those are some pretty good pieces to work with. Now, the question mark is at guard. How are you gonna replace, Micah Mazuka and Richie Leonard? I think they know who the starters are going to be. It's just these guys have never started full-time before at guard. One of them is a true sophomore, and Najee Harris. And the other one, Damian George, he was your starting right tackle last year. So how's he going to do moving inside, playing right guard? We're going to find out, but they feel like those are their best 2 options. To me, that's the biggest question mark with this team, or with this offense, rather, is what that guard position looks like. Now, I will say this. If you talk to some folks in the program off the record, they're not afraid to talk about this. But there were some chemistry issues on that offensive line last year. There were some bad apples, and they feel like there's been some addition by subtraction with some of the guys that have left. I'm not going to name names, but so if the chemistry is better as well, that can make a difference when you're talking about offensive line play. So, and Shane, you know that very well.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, last thing. Obviously, DJ Lagway was an early enrollee, highly recruited. We know all about his athletic ability and everything. It's Graham Mertz's team. Everybody knows that. There's talk about a package here, package there. I'm kind of for that, but I'm kind of against it because it can really mess up things during the course of a game. What are you hearing? How much they may put him in the game? And I try to tell people, Billy's not going to put him in the game just to put him in the game. If he is not ready and not comfortable at whatever his package is, there's no way you can put him in to risk anything. But how's he coming along this summer? And your thoughts on DJ, how much playing time he may get?
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. One, I think the most important thing to highlight here is there's going to be no controversy that comes out of this. Like, no matter how it plays out, no matter what DJ's usage is, I don't think that there's going to be bad blood in the room or a split amongst the players just because of what you said. This is Graham Mertz's team. I think everybody recognizes that. I think DJ recognizes that. But having said that, like, DJ Lagway is your future. He's already in a Gatorade commercial, man. He hasn't even played it down yet at Florida. And when recruits come to the Swamp, as much as it doesn't factor into the game and the game plan. And at the end of the day, the object is to win. But also recruits, man, when they show up, they're going to want to see DJ Lagway. They are. And it's a little bit of that Tebow phenomenon, Shane, because he is, if we're being honest, he is the most hyped recruit that Florida has signed since Tim Tebow. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. Yeah, for sure.
And when Tebow came as a freshman, people wanted to see him, even though Chris Leak was your quarterback. Like, why are we taking Chris Leak off the field? But you just, now Tebow could help you, and fans wanted to see him. It was good for recruiting. He was going to be the future. So I think because of those things, we are, and I don't think you're going to see him used necessarily like Tebow because he's not this bruiser runner, but he can do some stuff in the RPO game that Graham can. And when they find the things and the packages and the plays that he can do well and against certain matchups and in certain down and distances and situations, yeah, put him in. You know, if he's a weapon in the red zone, put him in. You know, but I don't think that they're going to force the issue. I think it's going to have to happen organically. Obviously, if Florida can take care of business in some games, that's a great opportunity to get him on the field. I just don't know how often that's going to happen. You got to think that Stanford game, hell, he could play most of the second half. But, you know, moving forward, I don't, you know, how many games will there be this season, Shane, where he doesn't play at all? I don't know. I mean, there's going to be some. I can't imagine he's going to play in every game, but I do think that they're going to try to get him in often.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because I've mentioned multiple times I've been on a lot of teams where they drafted a kid in the top 5, and college football is now the NFL because they're getting paid so much money. You almost have to play them in some capacity, and it was always one of those third series we're going to put him in, and boy, those linemen sometimes were like, "Oh my God, why are they doing this?" You know, so we'll see. But you know, DJ can bring something different to the table. But the problem is the defense knows what he's going to do compared to what Mertz is going to do. So anyway, we'll see. But the big point that you bring up that I think I forget about and people forget about is the recruiting aspect. You know, the other kids know he's highly touted. They want to see him play as well. Yeah. One real quick, we've had a bunch of people ask this question, and we'll get you out of here. Cormani McClain, any chance he sees the field this year?
Oh yeah, he started as a freshman at Colorado. He's gonna play. I don't think he's gonna start because you just have two corners that they feel really good about in Marshall and Moore.
I love our corners.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's there's a lot to like about that room because then they're really deep behind them too. I mean, that competition for those number 3 and number 4 spots, man. I mean, I think Jakeem Jackson is your number 3, but then, you know, Mustard, Dejon Johnson, Grimsley, who you brought in. Hell, that Teddy Foster kid was a surprise this spring. But having said all that, man, Cormani McClain is, you know, he's a different type of prospect. If he's coming in and he's doing everything right off the field, and I think the structure here and the environment culture here is just going to be better for him. He's going to play and contribute. He'll be in that rotation. He'll play on special teams. You know, I don't know what the rotation is going to look like with Will Harris, but I still imagine that they're going to put a lot of guys on the field. They're going to do it at safety too, because it's not just going to be Turner and Castell. They got some other guys, you know, DJ Douglas. They love him. I think Cormani's going to get a shot, but it probably won't be until next year where he's in a starting role.
All right. Good stuff, Zach. Let everybody know they can follow you on Twitter and read all your stuff.
Yeah, you guys can follow me at Zach Abolverdi. I guess it's x.com now. Still getting used to that. I still call them tweets. And then you guys can read all my stuff at gatorsonline.com. If you guys aren't subscribed, you know, we've got a promo going on where you can get that first month for just $1. And man, between all of our recruiting coverage and team coverage with me and Nick, it's worth the price of admission. So come check us out. It definitely is, obviously, is a good time now with football season coming up. So
yeah, appreciate your time, buddy.
Absolutely. Thanks, Shane.
Yep, that's Zach Abolverdi, one of the best in the business. Join us on the Tighten No More hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Live a healthier lifestyle with our bold, flavorful smoothies and our amazing food. Tropical smoothie. When you eat better, you feel better. Hope everybody enjoyed today's program. Again, thanks to Zach and JC. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you at the same place, same time tomorrow. Take care.